Hi, welcome to Seer and Higher Self guidance. As a seer, we can go into all timelines and dimensions. Hi, welcome to answer your questions and to find out kind of what's happening. Energy work is clearing. So we're removing the interference. We're removing what is no longer for your highest and greatest good. And we're wanting to find out, first of all, like the body will always tell the truth. So we want to find out, what is the body's messages and what is the body saying is interfering with you. And we want to know because it creates agitation. It creates like an instability where you constantly don't feel safe, and you don't feel safe in your own body, or you don't feel safe even if you're like alone in your room, and your nervous system is fried. And so you can do a lot of just checking that the audio is working, and I got a yes. So we're wanting to know, like, how come when nothing is happening, you're still agitated, and there's still not you, we that we're still agitated, and that we're still feeling interference, but where is the interference coming from? Where where how come your energy is depleted? And then where does it need to shift, and what needs to get cleared? And so if you have a question, you can just, if you want a seer and higher self question, an answer from your higher self, I just need your first name and your year of birth and the preferred pronoun, he, she, they, um, and the year of your birth. Really, your first name is all I need, but all the rest just makes it more personal that it's you. So the decree has come out. So I did it on purpose. So one video is coming out every day for 6 days. And that's to, it's just to reinforce how important the steps are. So yeah, you can do the decree where you cut the cords to what is interfering. Say you want to move countries, and yet you feel like you're stuck in the country that you were born in, or a country that never feels aligned to you. And then how come there is no momentum, when you try to leave or you try to move away, there's something that's stuck or that's holding you back from shifting. And also with health issues, like there's health issues that can be there from childhood, and that they don't shift, or if they go away for a little while, they come back. And then definitely under stress, or if you're in a stressful relationship, things will flare up. So I always say, especially with like autoimmune diseases, when and who was around you when those flared up. And so when you have flares, like your digestion or any autoimmune diseases, there's something that was like a fire that really your body is trying to get you to recognize that there's interference. And sometimes it can be the person that is around you, but they're there kind of like as a marker. But usually there's a deeper, it is probably those people or that person, but it also comes from a deeper place. So the decree goes in the layers that you're that you are ready to go into, right? So there's this present moment, but things can be interfering from other time spaces. they can come up from childhood and then even beyond childhood if you believe in other lives, like past lives. Some people call them past lives, but then other people say, well, all timelines are simultaneous because there's only the present moment. But this body and this life is the most important. And so the first video went out on Monday, and it was the welcome, the seer and higher self, the decree welcome. And then the second part came out on Tuesday, and it is called Name Your Space. And so, why is it important to name your space? Is that 3D is constant interference. And so, we are never left alone in 3D and actually in 4D. So the only time you are left alone is in 5D. Once you fully anchor in the body, so the body also has to be maintaining the vibration of 5D. 5D isn't a place, it is a frequency. And so many people are in 5D now, but it's how to stabilize in 5D. And in order to stabilize in 5D, we have to remove the interference. And its interference isn't personal, it is part of 3D. 3D is the material world, and it was constructed with overlays and interference to keep the frequency very low. So the frequency of 3 and 4D is fear. Primarily, it's to keep you in a state of fear. 3D and 4D is designed for you to have no money, no resources, and to basically remove 80% of your energy and 80% of your money. So you're only left with 20% of your energy, and you're only left with 20% of your money. And so it's called the material plane because it controls all the banking, it controls all the technology, it controls the every electrical system, technological system. It's running a current of irritation and a low vibration. So shame, guilt, fear. So if you're not feeling fear, then you're feeling guilt. If you're not feeling guilt, then you're feeling shame. And then, of course, there's anger and sadness and grief. And so that constant agitation is here to siphon your energy, basically. So I can't remember if it was, I think it was Monroe that actually termed the word loosh, where you, as a source emanated being, you are basically, your energy is constantly being used, but you'll be told that you're not important, or there's something wrong with you, you're too sensitive, you're too, you're too everything, you're too sensitive, there's something wrong with you, you're, you're not doing it right. But it's because it's to convince you to give away your energy. And so you already have everything you need as a source emanated being. So we go in this work, we go through the heart, and then we go into the inner compass. And then that's the pillar of consciousness, of source consciousness that is in every emanated human being. Right? So we're human and divine. And then it's remembering that. It's a huge remembering that your source emanated. It's like, whoa, that's big news, because you grew up probably so confused and had so much trauma happen, because you're basically the target, because you're the one that has the energy, the source emanated energy. Okay, so we have a comment. So the handle is ARK, ARK88AZ. So I can't guess your name from that handle. Thank you for they say, thank you for being you and giving us your time and energy. Well, thank you. That's really nice. Well, thank you for being here. Um, yeah, so you can ask a question or can just be here um, to hear the importance of the transmission. What came through this morning was, why is it important to name your space? So part 3 of the decree is naming your space. And so because 3 and 4D is always interference, and it's always to keep you in a low vibration. And so if we claim things in Source's name, or you can use the word God, Eckhart Tolle uses the word divine presence to just remind everybody that it is divine, and then, but presence in this life now and presence in this body now. So how you would do it is you would find your name, the name that comes to you intuitively. So you just ask, what is my space called? And then whatever name you get, and some people get really interesting names. And then you constantly, but at least once a day, affirm that your space, and you'd say the name of your space, and then you affirm that it is named and sealed in Source's name. And so you're sealing your space in Source's name, because frequency interruption is constant. So our bodies are constantly agitated, our minds are, yeah, what came through is our minds are made. So our minds are like an installation. The ego is an installation. So we think that we have to befriend the ego, or we have to get to know the ego. The ego is fake. So it is an installation. And usually it comes on at a certain point in your life, usually just going to claim the Wi-Fi in Source's name, and just had a bit of interference with the Wi-Fi. So just gonna claim the Wi-Fi in Source's name, claim YouTube in Source's name, claim this is coming through Zoom, so claiming Zoom in Source's name. So we're also wanting, when we name our space, we want our space to be held in the frequency of Source, so that we can have a chance to, at least when we come home, to feel like we can relax and our nervous system can relax. And especially naming technology in Source's name is really important, because that's all we use. We're on our phones all the time, computers, the 3G, 4G, 5G towers, right, are constantly emitting a frequency. And so our nervous systems, as source emanated beings, human beings, we can feel the agitation and the irritation of the frequencies in the air, basically. So we want to name our technology, and even the cables, name the cables in Source's name. Like my microphone, I claim in Source's name. So holding the frequency is something that was taught 2,000 years ago, that it was important that we had certain plants in our house, and that we said certain words that would hold the frequency of consciousness. And so removing interference is for consciousness, is for presence. And so as a seer, we always go through the heart, but we're going through the heart to connect with consciousness, to connect with Source, to connect with the divine. And so we want not only our bodies to be free, but the atmosphere around us and our space to be free. And so 2,000 years ago, they would use this plant called rue or hyssop, which is like mint. Sage is another one, white sage. And I found that if you put those also where you work and in your bedroom and in your living room, cedar is another one. If you can plant cedar, if you have a property or a balcony and you can put a cedar out on your balcony, it disrupts the frequency of agitation. It disrupts the frequency of fear and that constant underlying anxiety where you're constantly feeling anxious, like something's wrong with you, or something's wrong with your space, or something is wrong around you. And so you're wanting that liberation or freedom. It used to, for me, it would feel like freedom, but it's more like a liberation. It's like, get it off of me, get it away from me, get this irritation away. So creating a frequency of security in your space gives you a chance to see, okay, well, what's happening with my body and what's happening with the relationships around me, and then what's happening with my money, what's happening with my property, right? Because we live in the material world, those things are important, that you have housing, that you have food, you have a space that you enjoy. And then the other thing that in preparing your space, which is part 3 of the decree, is putting just a little pinch of sea salt in the corners of the room. Salt seals like a security. It's like a security, but it's also clears. And that's kind of also been used kind of in the Gnostic teaching. So like 2000 years ago. So when the material world was created, it was created kind of out of a like a falseness. like there's overlays in our system and our bodies, but then there's also overlays on earth and on earth, like Tara, earth Tara, and then Gaia is the new earth and Tara. So anything past 5D, so 5D is Tara. And so the interference was not just with us, but also like with planet. So as those kind of grids or false grids are getting released off the planet, they're also getting removed out of our system. But it's all free will choice, right? So everything that you're choosing is free will. And so you decide, if you decide you like the way things are, then just stay the way things are. If you're tired of the same, Eckhart Tolle's word, he always says, if you're tired of the madness, if you're tired of the madness, right, then there's motivation to clear and to remove things that are not for your highest and greatest good. And then, of course, if you have children, then the motivation is to clear as much as you can so that they're probably more conscious than you if they're born in the present. So they're probably usually more conscious than the parents. And so, yeah, so for part 4 is the plants and why are they important? And then they're there as frequency holders. And then part 5 is the technology decree. And just like we saw in this YouTube live, the internet went a little bit wobbly. So I've been doing these lives since December 2025. And I had a lot of interference with the technology when I started. Lots of construction outside of my balcony. There would be construction workers that would appear at 11:11 on Tuesday. They could come anytime, but they would come exactly at the time of the YouTube live. So it's not like I don't care. I'm noticing it and naming it because it's interesting, but that's the interference. Because what happens in these YouTube lives is we're not only just kind of talking about information, we're also emitting a frequency to each other. So consciousness to consciousness, source to source. And so we're emitting a frequency, and that frequency then kind of carries out. And of course, YouTube is very popular. So usually when people search things, they'll search on YouTube first. And so we're kind of like injecting a different frequency and here to stabilize like a 5D frequency. So 5D, the material plane, so 3 and 4D, I thought, whoa, okay, out of 3D, so consciousness rising, 4D, you're asking questions, you're saying, oh, I don't want this, and you're removing things, and you're seeing things as they are, not the way you've been told. So you're asking a lot of questions. And then you think, wow, okay, like I'm out of 3D because there's so much muck. It's so gross. It's so gross. I used to think, and I thought this in 2000, that you could take the frequency of 5D and bring it into the 3D, and you cannot do that. I learned the hard way. It took me 23 years to reawaken from 2000. So just doing some releasing. So whoever needs it, probably me, but anybody else as well. Yeah, so you can't take 5D to 3D. So we're not here to make 3D prettier or nicer or better. We're here to disrupt it, to basically shift and maintain a shift out of it. So there is only suffering in 3D, in the material plane. And then in 4D, it gets even more tricky because the frequency, the electrical currents and the electrical frequency and the technology interferes the most in 4D. So that's why the decree is so important, and also naming your space and source's name, and then maintaining the salt, the essential, and spritzing the essential oils in the 4 corners. I can't remember if I said that. So 4D requires the most 4D. I thought 3D, it was so intense with so much muck, and I thought there would be relief in 4D. And I think that's where a lot of people are getting kind of tricked, is that 4D actually the interference increases. And so it's like, just keep holding on, keep clearing, and keep asking questions. The questions interrupt the frequency. The frequency, it's kind of like what I was shown was what they want is like, how they want to control cows. And so they have these electrical prods where they electrically prod the cows to go in a certain direction that they want them to. That's basically how they want to treat us in 3D. They want in 3D and 4D, they want to have these electrical prods that kind of push us along in the direction that they want us to be going in. And so if they kind of soothe us, like they find if they kind of like numb out the cows and constantly agitate the cows, and their nervous systems are just like agitated all the time, and then they'll be able to kind of like move them along through a maze, you know, um, to their extinction, basically. Like, but they don't want you to be extinct because they need the source emanated beings. They want us to just be almost dead. So not living, have maybe moments of joy, like barely any moments of joy. And our state of being is joy, like is love, is unconditional love. Like that is our state of being. And that's 5D. So 5D, there's no hierarchy. We're here together to join together. And we're here to help one another in 5D. In 3D, it's all hierarchy. So if you're not the smartest in the room, then you need to be the most beautiful in the room. And if you're not the most beautiful in the room, then you need to be the smartest. I mean, the richest. So smartest, most beautiful, and richest, like the most wealthy. So that's the hierarchy of 3D and 4D. And so we're constantly shown on Instagram, like this person has, this fancy car and they're going on these amazing vacations, and you can have that too, and I start watching more closely, and they're always doing funny hand signals. They're always doing um funny handshakes, funny hand signals. And it's like, if you join the club, of the funny handshakes, then, you're going to have this wealth and you're going to be this famous person, and then you find out like what they actually have to do behind the scenes of those funny handshakes. And it's really horrific, right? It's really disgusting. So, but they kind of, that's the show of, and I had like a, I was shown recently what that looked like. And it was this person came up from the past, the recent past, so within the last decade. And, she came up to me and she apologized. And I was like, wow, I didn't expect that from her. She was pretty hardcore, of course, thinking she's the most beautiful and thinking that she's the most wealthy. And so I was quite surprised. And so she apologized, for like the treatment. And then I was like, oh, wow, I was like totally surprised. And then she said, oh, I want to introduce you to this guy, And then the guy was like, oh, yeah, like I have like the power where I can put $1 million in your bank account. And then this job, just requires you to do like a few things, but it's all been worked out. And I was like, oh, wow. And then he went to shake my hand and he was kind of funny, dodgy. And he did this weird handshake. And I was like, oh, weird. Like, what? And then as soon as I said, what, it was like I had to clear, right? Because the funny handshake happened, so it happens that quickly. So even in doing the decree, I said this on Tuesday, but I had a client and she got a bribe just before, she was ready. The third time she was reading it out, the one of the last lines, she was given a bribe. If she doesn't say this out loud the third time and burn it, she can basically be like a goddess where every man that meets her is going to fall in love with her, right? That was the bribe, right? So it's always fantastical. And we talked a little bit about plant medicine, and I said it's the same discernment that you need for anything. You need to know who is offering you these fantastic gifts. If somebody comes before you, like, who are they? Are they guides of unconditional love? Are they angels of unconditional love? Because unconditional love is free. There's no conditions. But the funny handshake people, of 3 and 4D that are offering the wealth and the beauty and the whatever, you can be famous, they are, they're wanting your essence, your source emanated essence. Another word for that is your soul, right? So they're wanting your body basically to be in control of your body, to be in control of who you are. And then that's part 6, which will be Saturday. The decree is the body. So let's see how, when we clear out the body and claim the body and clear out the body, and then see, people usually have quite a huge shift. So it's a good place to start. I'm just going to look at the chat. Okay. Well, I just have to let that go. That was a lot of chatting. Okay. So let's see. Okay. Welcome, Senija. Thanks for being here. I'm going to give you hearts here, both of you. handle ARK888AZ and Senija. Okay, so Senija, she, her, 1973. Could you please clear the interference of me being late for appointments? It gives me anxiety since childhood. Is there a degree to claim our space and our time? Much love. Okay, much love back, Senija. And she sent a whole bunch of emojis, an angel, and some hearts, and hugs. Okay, thanks, Senija. So, okay, let's take a look. So, Senija, she, her, 1973. Could you please clear the interference from me being late for appointments? It gives me anxiety since childhood. Is there a decree to claim our space and time? Okay, so much love. Okay, so let's take a look and see what it means for Senija personally. Okay, so, all right, so okay, so the right away they're like, yeah. So the material plane, so 3 and 4D, they control time and space, right? So causing interference to you or to everybody, that's kind of the goal, right? Because they know if they it's kind of like, if you, the example they're saying, if you I think Senija used the word God, right? So if Senija sends God before, so it would look like this. So Senija would say, God goes before me to my appointment. And so God goes before me to the grocery store. And so your path is being led by God, or I know Senija uses the word God, but you can say source, so God goes before me to my appointment. So God clears the way for my appointment. And so because that actually requires a lot of consciousness, because you're remembering to ask God, source, divine presence, to lead the way, to clear the way. And you're asking for help, which is humility. And so 3 and 4D are all about the ego, where there is no humility with the ego, because you have to be the smartest or the best or the most beautiful, and that's it. So the ego always needs praise. The ego always needs hierarchy. And so it actually is a lot of consciousness to remember to ask for help, or to turn something over to God or to source, to divine presence. And so in that way, in your everyday, they're saying in your everyday moments, send God first. So even so what we learned on Tuesday, we learned the name of your space, right? So you would say this space. So you just claim your whole space, or in your car and your workspace. And then you can just name the space, what your name is. So the name, and then you say, this is sealed in God's name. So sealed, right? So we want to be sealing things in God's name, or source's name, or divine presence's name, because 3 and 4D is constantly about clearing interference, but we want to start sealing things in God's name, source's name, divine presence's name, and then also sending God ahead. And that actually is a lot of consciousness to do that. And then we heard this voice say, but why would God care, right? That's the ego. Why would God care? It's like, God only cares about consciousness. Source only cares about consciousness. Source is consciousness. God is consciousness. So anytime we're conscious, it's like a ping to source or to God or to the divine. You know, our light turns on. You know, when you see people that their eyes are very illuminated, not that kind of empty, staring, hollow. You know, they have some people have like bright colored eyes, but not that. But when they actually sparkle, sparkly eyes, that is the light of God, source, divine presence. So, yeah, they're just saying that you being late is just, it is the interference. And they do it on purpose because they know that it will bring you into a low vibration, shame, guilt, fear, right? I'm afraid I'm going to be late. So they're just releasing for you right now. So we're just going to release. So let's just release. Yeah, they're just releasing the agitation in the body. And then just releasing. Yeah, they're saying you're going to get to a place where you're not going to be bossed around, right? Because in a way, it's them bossing you around. They're basically claiming your space, claiming your time, claiming your body. They are claiming, like, being embodied with eyes open, embodied. It means that you are claiming your space and you're claiming the spaciousness around you. So you're claiming your body, but also the spaciousness around you. And then if you're in charge of that space, then they cannot be, right? So the source emanated being has looked for for 2000 years that they have been losing because so much harm has been created. But they've won because no matter what the interference has been, they have maintained who they are and their connection to source and to God and to the divine. And they have not taken the bribe of the money or the fame or I mean, some of them are famous, right? So some light workers are famous, but that wasn't their intention. They awakened first, and then they talked about, like Eckhart, he awakened when he was 29 years old in a flash, and then he talked about what happened to him, and then he tried to bring pointers to others so that others can have a chance to awaken, and he's using his own experience. So, and his fame was slow, it grew organically, right? He did in the 90s, he did very small groups. So when I met him in 1997, he was just doing some one-on-ones and then small groups. But the first time he did a big like actually rented like a hall to have, people buy tickets and then go and sit down and then actually like arrive. He told me the first one that he organized, no one showed up. It's like 1997, and no one, like, I think it could fit like 50, maybe 50, 30 to 50 people, and like no one bought a ticket and no one showed up, right? And he's super famous now, but his book was published, and his book, was a New York Times bestseller. But he would go to small groups. People would organize small groups like in their homes, and he would go. like 30 people or something, or 20 people. But then when he actually organized like a public event, there was no one, and he said it actually felt really good. Like, because he doesn't need an audience, you know? So that's consciousness. You don't need, you might have an audience, but you don't need an audience, you know? There's, you're doing it from your own emanation of your own consciousness, right? Whereas 3D, the interference you're finding, Senija, since you were little, is 3D interfering, because they know if they interfere with you, they can keep you at a very low vibration. And so the putting the salt in the four corners. So Senija, you get a lot of interference, right? So we know whoever your higher self is, somehow it's very important for them to interfere with you. Um, and so claiming the technology, claiming your car or travel, and then actually saying for God to go before you. So for God to go before you, to before you go to your appointment. So God arrives to your appointment first, and then see what happens. Yeah, I just got a like little confirmation, a little sparkle confirmation. So yeah, try that, Senija, and see how that feels. But that can be for anybody. So it's just sending hearts to everybody. So that can be for everybody, because that is a lot of consciousness to remember before, we're rushing, rushing, rushing to go out the door. And before we go out the door, we're sending God ahead, or source, or the divine, right? That's a lot of consciousness. So yeah, just clearing, 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 clearing. They're like, let's just do, they're just clearing. They're saying they're clearing the field. So we can do this together, because it creates, this is a good clearing for everybody. So yeah, it's part of interference. So, and it's hard to not take it personally, but it's not that you know, you're not doing anything wrong. Yeah, claim the traffic. Senija said, thank you, Elaine. And then she said, I claimed traffic in source's name and it helps. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, claim the traffic, claim the pathway, the freeway, or the road, or the path. You can just say the path. Yeah. And then, just claiming if it's your own personal car, you can claim your car like with your name, or you can have a new name for your car if you want, and then you can claim that car in source's name. Oh, I see. There was some hearts sent. I don't know why you can see who sends the hearts and I can't, because I can't see who's if it's Senija. So Senija says that it was the YouTube handle ARC88888 said. So thanks. So there was a bit of a freeze there for my video. I don't know if it was there for you, but I don't know. Senija always tells me if my audio is working or not, or okay, so they're just clearing your throat. So they're just going to clear your throat really quickly, Senija. Yeah, so Cindy just saying it's cutting out a bit. Yeah, so exactly. So that's, to me, is usually when we hit the nail on the head. So, because imagine if we were all doing that, if we were sending source ahead in traffic, or we were claiming our cars in source's name, or we're claiming our homes in source's name, we're claiming the technology in source's name. Like that is bringing in a lot of light. And so if you think of you know, 3 and 4D is frequency, but it also, everybody, it looks like charcoal, you know. So if I'm, as a seer, when I see people, can see how much light they have. And, you know, some people look like charcoal because they're, you know, they've removed themselves, and it is a free will choice, but they've removed themselves further and further and further and further away from source, choosing the material plane, thinking that the material plane with the bribes and the and they're real, you know, they're real bribes. It is real in 3D. We want to have money and be able to go travel and you know, have, you know, multi-generational wealth, right? Because that's what they show. They show, oh, well, we have all of this land and we have all of this money, and then you look at who they are, you know, the behind the scenes, you know, and it's like, oh, gross. Right? And then, yeah, so thank you, Senija. So let's just take a look. So they just did a bit of clearing for the throat. And then, yeah, so they said, good, we're done. So we're going to close Senija. So bringing in sources golden light and just bringing everything into the present moment. Everything that was able to clear has been cleared. So they're saying to give Senija a fresh start or a restart. And then just closing, can feel the solar plexus and the sacral. So just grounding, connecting to Mother Earth, to Gaia, to the crystalline grid, grounding in the crystalline grid. So we're kind of like awakened. Our hearts are awakened, but we're also grounded in Gaia. And I always ground now in Gaia because Gaia is the new Earth. So 7 to 9D. So I just think, why not? Get grounded with Gaia. So 7 and 9D. And then just bringing in sources golden light. Connecting to the inner body. All the way down to the feet. And then to Gaia. Releasing the shoulders. And breathing. Yeah, the lower chakras are the toughest, the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus for light workers. And light workers are star seeds or empath sensitives. I don't know, a lot of guys, they don't like being called empaths, I find. So they prefer like a light worker or a star seed, but they'll be like, I'm not an empath, I'm not sensitive, but they are. They are empaths and they are sensitive. But whatever word that you connect with, you know, because it's actually, you know, we're empaths were kind of like put down, but it actually is a superpower, like to be able to feel the energy around you and to feel what is happening, not only to feel, but to see, to sense, to smell, to taste, you know, like empaths have a refined palate, you know, when you find kids today, they can smell, they have such a refined smell and such a refined taste, you know. So I see parents all the time just making their kids eat things, and it's like they can taste it. You know, they actually can taste if something has too much salt. Like their taste and their smell is is so refined because they have not been shut down. They've remained conscious. So Senija's, we're grounded, we're connected. Good. Okay. So Senija has another question. How do we distinguish our thoughts from implanted ones? Yeah, so thoughts are all the conscious mind. So we need the conscious mind to be like, answering questions or to speak or, we need the conscious mind, say, for 2% of what we do. But it's been the opposite, where the conscious mind has taken over like 95%, and we've only been like 5% or 20% of us have been our consciousness, and the dominant has been the conscious mind. So the conscious mind has dominated like 80% of us, which would be like 200 on the Hawkins scale, which is you know, you're at least starting to ask questions and you're starting to notice things. But how do you distinguish our thoughts from implanted ones? Anything that causes fear is what they're saying is implanted. Because why do you need to be afraid all the time? Right? You're safe in your home. Like, something could happen. It's like, but is it happening now? So if it's not happening in the present, it's an implanted thought. If it's happening in the present, like oh, I'm hungry, I need to go make some food, right? That's a thought. Then that's like organic, because it's happening and you can feel your stomach's hungry, and then your stomach is saying, oh, I'm hungry, I'm going to go get some food. But say you've just eaten and you thought, you were fine. And then there's this thought of, oh, but you're going to starve and there's not enough food in the world and people are starving, and oh, you should eat some more food. Okay, that would be like an implanted thought, because you just ate and you just enjoyed your meal. And then all of a sudden there's this, thought of eating more, or the opposite of, oh, shame, oh, you shouldn't have eaten that, you should not eat so much. That would be like an implanted thought. So like thoughts that emanate from your being, they're usually very neutral, like straightforward, like, oh, I need to go for a walk. My legs are agitated, or I feel agitated. I need to go for a walk. That would be like a conscious thought with consciousness, for your highest and best good. But say you went for a walk and then you came back and you felt good about your walk, and then this thought comes in, well, why are you walking when you could run? Like, you're so lazy, like you should run. Like, nobody walks. Like, what are you, 100? That is the conscious mind. That's the ego, right? You just had a beautiful experience of having a walk and it's not good enough. That's the ego. That's an implant. And the higher self always comes through first, but in a quiet, direct way. No drama. Your higher self will never talk to you in a way that shames you or guilts you or causes you to be afraid to feel afraid or to feel guilty or to feel ashamed. But the ego is the installation, and that's all it does. It talks to you in a way that belittles you, that puts you down. And even when you do things, it puts you down to be ashamed of whatever you've accomplished. So Senija says, it makes sense. So any thoughts, feelings that are not constructive in nature. Yeah, the conscious mind, the ego, is the critical voice. And sometimes it's very manipulative. Like it will say, it'll bring up a past event. So it'll say, oh, but you've done this all the time. You've done this, it's so disrespectful being late. You've done this your whole life. Like something's wrong with you, right? That would be the conscious mind. So in this work, we would look at, okay, well, what is actually happening with the interference of not getting to somewhere on time? And then we're looking at who's that voice? Where's that critical voice coming from? And that the critical voice doesn't like the spotlight. It doesn't like, because as soon as you bring source or God, source, divine into asking a question, you bring a lot of light, and they don't like a lot of light. They like being in the shadows. They like being in the dark. They like kind of like popping out of nowhere, right? So, but there always will be followed with a feeling, and it will be a low-based feeling. It won't be a voice that will make you feel proud of yourself or joy. It will never say, it can say, oh yeah, if it wants to manipulate you, oh yeah, good job, but next time you should do it like this, right? Like, say you're an artist, the painting's good, but next time you shouldn't take so long, right? A painting takes as long as it takes to paint. But the conscious mind will say, oh, but you take too long. Too long compared to who or what, right? It's just making stuff up to bring you back to that low 3D, shame, guilt, fear. Yeah. So let's see. Today we had the decree went out. Oh yes, Senija says thank you so much. Hugs and angel and hearts. I'm gonna send some hearts back, and I know somebody sent hearts a little bit ago, but I couldn't tell who, if it was you, Senija. And then Saturday is the body decree. So Saturday at 7 a.m. Pacific time, the body decree will be out. And that'll be like the first one where you get a chance to do the decree from the beginning to the end. And just remember, you're just burning one single piece of paper. You can use both sides, right on both sides, but you're just using one piece of paper that you're burning, and burn it safely. We're all adults, we're all responsible, but you're not creating a bonfire. And then you're just going to fold it 3 times and then light it. And then I use like tongs, and then usually I'll do it like on the stove because it can be quite smoky because it's paper. So maybe do it in the kitchen where you can turn the kitchen fan on, or if you have a balcony or outside. And then, salt your burnt ashes, and then just be curious if certain things burn or if they don't burn. Um, I think that's it. And Senija says, oh my God, all the words I've heard from people. What do you mean? Um, Like, is that in context to the body decree, Senija? We'll see. So some more hearts. Yeah, so then let me know how it goes. It's really powerful. It really, I've done energy work since 1990. I've done the deep dive in consciousness and awakening. It's what I've done in every lifetime I've had on Earth. I know about 10 of them, 10 timelines, and it's always been as a seer and consciousness. So how do we clear interference? How do we clear so that we can see things as they are, not how we are being told to see things, and that we can feel them. The body is a gift that we can actually feel what's happening so that we can remove what is not for our highest and greatest good. I know my hair's a bit wild this morning, but there's so much action that happens in these sessions. Oh, Sunny just saying, oh my God, all the words I've heard from people, the critical words about time. Yeah, exactly. Right. And there's always this judgment like, I'm so much better. I'm always on time, like, um, yeah, but just notice like, are they loving? Like are the people that talk like that, are they loving, Are they loving people? Because the conscious mind loves being the top dog. I'm better than you. I'm on time all the time. Or you have the receptionist at the whatever office if you're late, and they're like so judgmental and they treat you like garbage for being late. And they're like, they get to be the top dog, right? So, that's the ego. That's the conscious mind. And then the more you're just being guided internally from God, source, divine presence through the heart, and then just making God, source, divine presence go ahead of you in every way. And then just practice and just play with that. And then see how things shift. Just, we're doing small things, but there's so much consciousness that comes with all of these small things that they're actually huge. But that's the only way for awakening is to not overwhelm the system, the nervous system. And by doing, because I mean, Eckhart awakened fully in a moment. And that I can't even imagine how shocking that would be. Like, even when I became conscious in 1997 to 2000 and got close to 5D, I did it over 3 years. So I can't imagine being conscious in a flash where the ego completely, ejects out, right? All the installations eject out at one time. It's like intense. It took him a couple years, he said, to find out what happened. He was 29. He's a university student, and it took him, 2 years of like, what happened to me? So he's 20 years older than me, so he's probably like in his 70s now. So when he would have woken up, become conscious, there wouldn't have been very many people around. So yeah, but let's leave it there. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And let's end. If you can make it on Tuesday at 11:11, there'll be another live. And I think we'll go from there. So let's end this session. So let's close this session. I'm going to send hearts. Thanks for being here. And thanks for putting comments in the chat. And I think the YouTube handle at ARK88AZ, it's the first time you've left a comment, so thank you so much. Yeah, we're here to be together, and together we can create a frequency that is very stable. So as always, take what resonates and leave the rest. Always follow your own discernment. we're not here. There's no gurus. There's no one smarter than or better looking than or we're going to leave all of that and then just maintain the frequency of 5D and then do that together. So yeah, thank you, and we'll see you in the next one. All right, take care. I'll send lots of love. Oh, and Helen. Oh, I just saw Helen joined. Hi, Helen. Helen's been here before, so hi. And then Senija says, sorry for being late. There's no late. You came right on time. And you actually gave a new person that joined a moment to just be in the space. We were just in the space together. So there's no late. There's only on time. I used to be late, and now I understand it, and I'm not late anymore. And then it looks like there's somebody else new here. Nicola, Nicholas? Oh, is it Nicholas? Samber Valendez would anyways, it's a long handle. So thank you. It looks like it's Nicholas, but is it Nicola? Nicola. Yeah. Anyways, thank you. And thank you for being here. And then we'll see you in the next one, and we'll keeping the vibe, the 5D vibe, but we're also going 5, 7, 8, 9 because the body can go, our physical body can go to 9D incarnated in a 3D body, right? So we're here to maintain a consciousness. Oh, okay. So thanks for saying your name. So it's Nicolasa? Nicolasa. I hope I said it right. Nicolasa. Nicolasa, yeah, and if you can put in the chat like where you're from, I'm just curious because I tried to do a time that I felt was more global, that more people could join from different time zones because I'm on the Pacific time zone, and I think Senija, you're on the Pacific time zone, but I don't know where Helen. Yeah, I don't know if you can put in the chat where you're from. That also helps, and then so from the US, yeah. So is this time better than the 7:30 instead of the 11:11? Rhode Island, is RI Rhode Island? Rhode Island, USA? Wow. Okay, awesome. Thanks for saying that you're here. And because I never know who's here. And then yeah. Yeah, it's quite exciting. It feels like a celebration. I'm going to send you all lots of hearts and thank you for being here and lots of love. And so let's end the transmission here. Just going to tune in for a minute because it always helps, us doing it together. We'll just ground in the 5D frequency. So connecting through the heart, going into the inner body, connecting to God, Source, Divine Presence, thanking our team, our higher selves, our guides of unconditional love, the angels of unconditional love that have come through in this transmission, and that we're connecting globally. And we are using technology in Source's name. So that's what I mean. They always tell on themselves and then they create things, and then Source or God says, okay, I'll take it from here. Right? But we're here to anchor the frequency of 5D and to stay, and we can do that together because 5D is together, right? There's no hierarchy in 5D. We help one another and we can ground frequency into the earth more easily together. So thank you. Okay. And thank you for your loving, gentle presence all. Yeah, thank you very much. Nicolasa. Thank you. That's a nice comment. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Take care, everybody. And we'll see you in the next one. And if you get a chance to follow the decree and do the decree, always let me know how it's going. It's quite exciting.